I'm starting out with an up-close image of the little coffee table that I was called about. Now, here is my dining room table. And the reason why I am going to show you this first is because I practiced on this before I practiced, or not practiced, but tried to fix the coffee table. So, very weird thing happened. I was with my husband in the car, and this is the before photo of our dining room table that I've had probably in the house for at least 20 something years. There are little nicks, there are scratches, and I thought to myself, I'm going to use Restore a Finish. Now, I looked online and I found a whole bunch of videos talking about it. And the reason why is because I got a phone call and it was a woman looking for someone to restore her coffee table. And I wondered how she got my number because I just do YouTube videos. Well, I guess when I logged in to start this channel, I put in my Gmail accounts and then I also put in my phone number. So what she did is she put in restoring furniture and the area code where I live, and it came up with my phone number. And it's really weird because I had gotten about 3 other phone calls from people asking me to restore their furniture. One lady, a bed was broken in transit. Another woman had something else she wanted to get fixed. But I thought it was maybe my friends being funny or something, so I was really confused. So I called her and she told me the whole story, and so I thought, hey, if I can help her out, that would be great. I will go see what's going on. So my husband and I drove out to her house, and I thought it was really amazing that she trusted me to go to her house because I am very trustworthy, but she was very trusting. So I got to her house, and she was a very put together woman. You know how there are some women who are very well put together? Well, she's in that category. Her house was very immaculate, and everything was in its place. And I could see why she would be frustrated because there were some scratches on the coffee table. So she and her lovely husband were there, and she was asking me about why there was the kind of white kind of filmy look. And that was because of moisture. And I think it's because they had a plasticky kind of cover for a book that was there. And in the Pacific Northwest, it's very moist. So if you have something on wood for a long period of time, it can get condensation a little bit that can make the wood change color. Then she had some kind of she had some scratches that weren't very surface level. They do not hit the wood, but they're thick enough that they're deep enough that you can put your fingernail and it makes a noise. So I told her that my next door neighbor, Joanne, hey Joanne, she's very knowledgeable and my dad has some knowledge. And so what I thought I would do is use a 320 grit sandpaper, and then I would use this Howard's Restore a Finish to make it the same color again, and then I would use the Feed and Wax by Howard. So I got it home, and my next door neighbor was outside, so I asked her to come over and look, and she said, oh, it's a thick lacquer, and it was made in China. And Joanne said that she never does any restoration with the thick lacquer because it takes a very long process to strip it all off and to get it done right. So then I thought, oh, okay, I'm only charging $50 for this, for a pickup and return and do it because I wanted it for a video for YouTube. So then I went on YouTube and I saw some professional people who did this, and what they said is you have to get some kind of lacquer thinner and you gently brush the lacquer into the hole. And then after you do that, then you sand it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, I do not want to make this piece worse. So I thought to myself, okay, this table that you see right here is in my dining room. It's very similar to the color and the lacquer that's on it. So what I did is I cleaned off the table. I put the Restore finish on it, and in the parts that had bad problems, I followed the directions on Howard's Restore Finish website, and it said get a 4/0 steel wool, and 4/0 just means 4 zeros, and then go in the same direction as the grain, and then that will basically make it so you can't see the scratches. So here you can see on the right hand side of the table, I have done that. I've gone through and I have used the sandpaper, and now I am taking off all the residual parts. So that's the Restore Finish right there. Okay, now you can see, here's the part that I put the Restore Finish on it. I have not put any wax on. And sorry about the lighting. I was trying to make it so you could see the scratches. Now the next two panels, those I have not touched. All I did is wipe them down. And you can kind of see how they don't have any sheen or luster. They kind of look dead. So what I did is I worked on my table first. And I figured if my table looked better, then I would be safe to work on the women's table. And that's what I did. So if you watch this closely, I do the far right panel, and then I do the middle, and then I do the far left panel. Then after that, I use the Howard feed-in wax on the right panel and the left panel, but I don't do it in the middle. So can I see the difference? Of course you can. So then I finished the whole thing and I put the feed-in wax on top of it. And then I brought the little coffee table from the car into the house. I normally do my work in the garage, but it's kind of a cold day today. So I thought that the wax would do better being warm. So I put it into the living room right next to this dining room table, and I worked there. Now, when you watch a video about the Howard Restore Finish, all you need is a clean rag. You need the 4/0 sandpaper, which I have right there in that little container. And I used a container to keep the Howard Restore Finish inside. I also put some old towels around the base of the table in case anything dripped, but nothing dripped at all, so it was totally fine. I also, as the woman, I watched a video, I can't remember what the woman's name was, but she was great. She did the whole thing on her furniture. I think she's from like the Boston area. At least her accent seemed that way, maybe from the East Coast someplace. And she wore a very nice little apron. So if you see me wearing a Hello Chef apron, it's because we had it and we got it for free because we ordered that sometimes. And I'm not affiliated with anything. I have no sponsors. I have very few subscribers as of now, but I do use products that I see online because they usually turn out pretty well, and I like that. So here I am going with the grain, and you can see that this table has many different ways that the grain goes. So around each panel, it's horizontal and vertical, horizontal, yes, and vertical. And then the wood from there goes out like in V's. So it's really, you have to be very careful about how you do it. So you can see right now it's looking it does make it look much nicer. Now, is it restoring? I would say no. You can still see deep scratches. And I think it's because both of the coffee table and this table, okay, so here you can see the before. You see all the little scratches going up and down. You can see the big scratch on the right. There's a little bit of wear, basically. Here you can see there's some kind of foamy look, not foamy, white coloring from the extra moisture damage. it's just been worn and it's just been used. You know, when you use furniture, this kind of thing happens. And now you can see this is just from using the Restore-A-Finish on my table. I am trying to make it so you can see the scratches and everything, but it does a pretty good job. Okay, so now I am doing the other side of the table. Once again, I am keeping the middle section not waxed so I can see the difference between after the Restore-A-Finish and then you put on the wax, how does it look? That's what my thought is. Now I am recording this on my iPhone as well. I normally have 2 videos about each item that I do. One is a landscape like this, and one is in portrait. And I usually don't speak on one, and I do speak on the other. So, of course, this is the one I'm speaking on. And this, okay, now after you put on the Howard feed and wax, you're supposed to wait 20 minutes. So I made sure I timed that, and I waited 20 minutes. Now I'm giving you another look again, how it was before. Good lighting so you can see it's just wear, really, except for this scratch right here is really bad. You can actually feel it. And that's the worst one that I couldn't get rid of. Okay, so now I am using the Howard's Restore-A-Finish with mahogany color. It's the same as I used on my table. I love mahogany, it's my favorite. Now, when you use it, it says to shake it very well, and that's why I was shaking it back and forth. So you go with the grain, and basically, I think what happens is that the color goes in past the top coat of the lacquer and will go inside, and so little scratches will kind of go away really easily. And the water damage look went away pretty easily. But that big one right there that I'm scrubbing right now, oh, I also went into my garage and got some dark stain. And I put that on there to see if anything would happen. Nothing happened. So if the woman who has this piece wants it perfect, I think she has to go to a professional person, and it's going to be very expensive. And that's the whole thing about furniture. If you feel comfortable doing it yourself, you can save a lot of money. If there's something that's precious to you and you don't want to get it, anything bad to, happen to it, then it costs a lot of money to make it perfect. So that's why a lot of flippers, they buy their own furniture. And then that way, if it's not perfect, you're buying it the way they are selling it to you. If you are taking somebody's precious furniture, you have to make sure you're not leaving it worse than how you picked it up. And there was a YouTube video, what's it called? It's a very Scandinavian looking woman who, it's her father's shop, so she was trained by her father how to fix furniture. And she, of course, does an amazing job, and she videotapes all of her work, and it just takes hours, and I have no idea how much she charges. But this whole waxing just on the table, I would say took me maybe at the most an hour, because you have to wait for things to dry. So I was using, doing my table too. So here's the Howard feed and wax. And I'm doing the middle one now because I want everything to look the same. And my parents, who live in the same house as me, they came back from shopping, and my dad said, "Oh, wow." So he could tell right away that the table was all nicely polished. Okay, so now I am using the Howard feed and wax on the ladies' coffee table. Now, you're supposed to wait 20 minutes. So what I did is I waxed this pretty heavily. I waited 20 minutes. I put a timer on my iPhone because normally I have no patience, but I wanted to make sure I follow all the directions. And then I only wiped it off gently. So my family house is about, I'd say 68 degrees sometimes in the weather as we're having it right now. So you can see a lot of these scratches are gone, but that big scratch is still there. So I'm hoping that overnight, more of the feed and wax will either harden up or seep through, and then I'll buff it really well tomorrow, and I'll let the lady know that I'm coming to drop it off, and I'll take whatever she wants to pay me. I said $50, thinking that it was going to be an easy job, but when my friend Joanne told me that it was a really deep gouge in lacquer and it was going to be a hard job, then I was like, okay, I'll do what I can do, and then whatever, you know, all you got to do is try your best. So I also waxed the legs and I waxed the support of the table. It's a very pretty table indeed. And if you yourself have furniture that you love like this, just make sure you clean it off and then use something like Howard Feed and Wax, because it is a product that actually helps keep your wood waterproof. So if you do put something on it, it won't leave those horrible lines. And I know that lots of people like to use Pledge, but I've heard, I don't work for any of these companies. I don't have any sponsors, but I've heard things like that aren't as good. So I also use a kind of wood cleaner with all my things at my house. But of course, my products are downstairs and I can't remember the name. But try to look for items that are used by woodworkers. So you can see with the wax, it looks much nicer. And slowly you're going to see to the right how it looks. And then you're going to see how it looks to the left. And I hope that the woman who I helped out thinks it's good enough, right? Because it's not perfect, and I know that. You can see the little scrapes. Anyway, have a great day, subscribe, and hope you liked it. Thanks. Bye-bye.